When it comes to automatic daily gratuities, what do cruise line crew get and not get? Now, this is just one of the questions that people who are removing their daily gratuities are asking, and I think it's time we talk. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, the issue of cruise line gratuities, it's been a bit of a hot topic for a few years now, but I don't think that I've ever really seen it like this. And I think people are bringing up some really valid points. People do want some answers. And I think truthfully that there are a lot of people who would like to see a change. Now, recently I asked in the Lifewell Cruise community if people would support higher cruise fares if that meant that gratuities were included, and it was something that we didn't have to think about. Now, I'm going to let you know some of the comments that I got, and overwhelmingly what most people said, but I am also going to share with you something that unfortunately we have seen one cruise line that did include gratuities in their fare. They have actually reversed course. I'm pretty shocked about this. So we are going to talk about Virgin Voyages, and I'm also going to share with you some things that I do when it comes to tipping, and one thing that I suggest that you do no matter how you feel about this. Now, before I get started, I wanted to mention two things. Firstly, this is a friendly discussion, so we can all have different opinions and leave them down below in the comments. And secondly, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. All right, number one, we need to talk about the rumors that are circulating. And I think that this is the biggest change that we've seen over the last few months. And basically what's happening is when it comes to those automatic daily gratuities, there are people that claim that they have heard from crew members that the amount of money that they are paid, well, it doesn't change no matter if people leave their automatic daily gratuities on or if they remove them. So basically what they're saying is the crew member is guaranteed a certain salary that consists of both the salary from the cruise line and the pooled tips or gratuities that are collected from the passengers. Now, I'm not claiming to know how this works, and I certainly am not trying to start any rumors, but in the past, I sort of assumed that whatever amounts were collected on that cruise ship with those specific passengers would sort of be divvied up among the crew on that cruise ship. But I think that now, as I've learned a little bit more about it, that might not be the case, and it might be kind of distributed overall. But either way, I do believe, based on what we've heard cruise lines say, that it is actually going to be employees. Which leads me to my next point, and a big reason that some people say that they are removing gratuities, and this is transparency. There are a lot of people who say, you know what, we just want transparency. We want to know where that money is going. Is it going to the crew on that cruise ship? Does it even make a difference? Because apparently there are some crew members that are telling passengers, you know what, remove your gratuities and then instead give that cash to me and some of the other people. It's going to actually have more impact on our lives. And let's face it, even on a human level, it always does feel good to give money, to give those tips to somebody who has really impacted your vacation, and that you feel that your money or your generosity has impacted them, well, at least in a reciprocal way. Now, I do have a little something that I wonder about, and it's that if more and more people do remove their gratuities, if that could change things a little bit. And I certainly would never want it to negatively affect the crew. And that brings me to another point where some people say, you know what? If automatic daily gratuities can be removed if people want to go to guest services on the ship, then I'm in essence paying for all of those people, and I'm putting my money into the pool when other people are not. And I think that's also creating amongst cruisers something else that is new to argue about. Now, there are other people who want to remove gratuities altogether, but they want to remove them for another reason. And that is, of course, because they do not want to tip the crew at all. Now, I'm not saying this with judgment, even though personally I don't believe that people should not tip the crew. That is because I've been cruising for about 20 years and I just accept that this is part of cruise culture in the same way that tipping when I go to a restaurant or I go to the hairdresser is just part of what I expect. And again, I know I'm saying this from a North American perspective. I am Canadian, but it's just the way it is here. And it's been the way the cruise culture is. But I completely recognize that as long as cruise lines allow people to remove the tips, that it is absolutely an option. And I know depending on where you live and what your culture is, you may feel differently about it than me. And I do know for my Australian friends and viewers, I know that the tips are not extra on your cruises, but from what I hear, the cost of your cruises are higher. Now, when I did ask the question in the LifeWell Cruise community, many people said, you know what, it is time that cruise lines included gratuities in the cost of the cruise, or basically that they just raised the prices of the cruise and that they paid the crew members more. And I think that that was across the board, except for other people, I have to say, that had a very, very good point. And they said, I have onboard credit oftentimes when I go on a cruise, and therefore, if I can pay my gratuities with the onboard credit, that is actually beneficial to me. Now, by the way, I'm always talking here about the daily gratuities that are charged, that on most cruise lines now, I think are in and around about $20 per person per day. And some are a little bit less, some are a little bit more, but you know, just to give a roundabout number. However, there is also another form of tipping on a cruise. So I am going to talk about that later, and something that I now do that I definitely suggest that you do. So should cruise lines simply raise the fare and include crew gratuities or crew appreciation in it, or basically just pay their crew more? A lot of people say, yes, I love the idea of this business model. As a matter of fact, they point to that Virgin Voyages was doing this. But between the time that I posted that question and the time that I'm filming this video, Virgin Voyages, to my shock, has actually reversed course on this. And they say that well, for transparency, they're actually including gratuities as a line item. So for anybody who doesn't know, and this starts after October 7th, by the way. So how does this work? Well, if you book a Virgin Voyages cruise, there's going to be a line item of $20 per person per day for your daily gratuities if you pay that before your cruise, or if you want to pay that on your cruise, it's $22 extra per day. Now, I know they say this is for transparency, but I think one of the things that people loved about Virgin Voyages was the fact that it was easy, nothing to have to think about. And I have spoken to a lot of people on Virgin Voyages that don't want to think about gratuities, and now the fact that you can actually remove them by going to sailor services on Virgin Voyages, it just creates this whole tipping culture and this discussion and argument even. It's going to bring that to Virgin Voyages. And I have to be honest, I just really wish they hadn't made this change. All right, so what do I do when it comes to tipping, and what do I suggest that you do when it comes to tipping? Well, first of all, you do you when it comes to the daily gratuities. Now, in my case, this is just how I do it. I always leave on my daily gratuities. I honestly don't really mind very much that it is pooled. I do have to say that I prefer giving a tip directly to somebody because that is a nice thing. But I also recognize that the people who are going to serve me in the main dining room, there are other people that are going to work in the buffet. Oftentimes they're working in both. I'll see them in a restaurant at night and in the morning time in the buffet, and then somewhere else on the ship. And honestly, I'm absolutely fine. I know how hard these people work. So I pay that. And then on top of that, I decide where and who I want to give an additional gratuity. I usually give an additional gratuity to the people who work in my cabin. So a cabin attendant. I also give an additional gratuity. If I have the same waiter for more than a couple of nights, I'm going to give my waiter an additional gratuity. I've gotten used to keeping a few dollars in my handbag or with my cruise card so that I can tip a bartender an extra dollar or two when I get a drink. And again, I just make a decision for myself if that's something that I want to do. But this is the extra point. So if you're going to give money to a bartender, or even if you go to the hairdresser, if you want to leave an additional tip, and just to let you know, in all of these cases, when you are charged anything, even at the spa, you will see they're already charging you, I believe it's 18 or 20%. Already you're charged a service charge or a tip. But if you want to give something above and beyond that, so it goes directly to the person, bring cash. Now, something that I have done when I've gone to get my hair done in the past is sometimes I would add, an extra $10 or something. And one time I did actually ask, and they did tell me that this is pooled, so they won't necessarily get it. So now what I do is I go with some cash with me, and in the cases where I've forgotten to bring cash, it's happened to me when I've gone to the hairdresser and I've forgotten, I'll just go back another day and I'll give them an extra little bit of money, because in those cases, they serve me directly and I want to make sure that they are the ones who benefit. Now, I do have another thought. As daily gratuities really are increasing, in some cases they're about $25 per person per day. Even at $20 per person per day, that's $280 for a couple, or $560 for a family of four. And I think that that really does start to add up. It's not just a small amount anymore. And I think especially even for first-time cruisers or people who are on a budget, it really is important to know what the cost of their cruise is. And I do think that it is time that it is included in some way. Now, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're comfortable sharing what you're doing when it comes to tipping, or even if your mind has changed in any way, please do let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if anybody is a crew member that is watching, please share your own experiences. I'm always happy to hear from you. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.